Do you want to learn how to farm Marauders like a pro? Well, friends, you have come to the right spot. My name is Rengawr. Let me show you guys how to farm these Jeffs. Let's jump right in. This guide is going to cover all things Marauders, including tips and tricks on how to fight them, because when you are new to the game, Marauders can be quite scary and quite devastating if you don't know what you're doing. But once you get the mechanics down, even with bad weapons, you can kill Marauders pretty easily. Now, if you don't know, a Marauder is the giant blue monsters that kind of sit still on the map. You can hear them breathe very loudly, and they seem to always block your path or be in your way, and they can be really obnoxious when you are new to the game. Now, just a note, if you are new, Marauders can be easily outran, so if you ever have to run by one, don't be afraid. You can easily outrun them. You can stop for stamina. They're not that scary when you're trying to run from them. Marauders only have 2 attacks. Their first attack is a corrosive spit. So when you aggro a Marauder, they will scream, they will open their mouth, and they will shoot a toxic spit at you, which will land on the ground. Now, while it's on the ground, it does 3 things. Number 1 is it will deal damage to you over time. Number 2 is it will slow you so that you cannot sprint, but you can jump. And number 3 is even though you take damage over time, you also lose armor durability over time. It seems to corrode your armor while you are in the pool. So you not only take damage and it's hard to get out of, but you also lose armor durability. So fighting consecutive Marauders with bad weapons can be very scary because you can be leaving the raid with very low armor points, which is not very good. So now that we covered the corrosive spit, which is their ranged attack that can really mess us up and get us in a bad situation, we're going to talk about their lunge attack. So whenever you get close to a Marauder and he's on the same level as you, he will try and walk up to you and lunge attack you. So he will teleport from where he is to you, pretty much. It kind of is a little buggy right now. He'll blink to you sometimes instead of actually lunging at you. And he will try and hit you. Now, whenever he does this, he will always try and do it a second time afterwards. It seems every single time a Marauder lunges at me, he will try and do it again. I'm not sure if this is intended, if I just had weird circumstances, but it seems every time he does it once, he wants to do it twice. And these attacks can be avoided. We'll talk about this later on, but just keep that in mind. Now you understand how the attacks work. You know he has the spit, and then he also wants to lunge at us. So you can see when I get close to him here, he wants to try and lunge at me. He can't get it off because we kill him in time, but that's what he goes for right there. And we can avoid it. I'll talk about how to avoid it later on, but let us hop into why we actually want to kill Marauders. So really there's 2 benefits to killing and farming Marauders in the Cycle Frontier. So number 1 is maybe you have a contract where you have to kill 4 Marauders or kill Marauder and a couple Rattlers, whatever that may be. If you kill the Marauder, that helps get that contract done, so then you get rep and tickets and K credits as well, which is very useful. But on the other hand, if you come over to the workbench, which is in between the quick shop and the ICA armory, you come over here and you go to the workbench and armor. All of the blue armor in the game requires either a Marauder head or it requires a hardened bone plates. And both of these will only spawn off of the Marauder, so we have to kill them so that we can upgrade our armor. Instead of crafting green armor, we can get blue armor, which is much better than green. So that's going to be our main point. We are killing Marauders with the intent of getting hardened bone plates and the Marauder heads. The flesh itself really is useless and it really isn't even worth its weight, but it is there if you want to loot it. But all in all, that is the main reason that we are going to be farming these Marauders. Now, when we watch me farm these Marauders, you can see that in a lot of these clips, I'm using the Voltaic Brute. Now, the Voltaic Brute is a purple weapon. It costs 130k, and it absolutely shreds these Marauders. Now, we're not going to really talk about this too much, because it's not realistic for most players who are farming blue armor to have one of these, or to be buying them or using them. So we'll talk about what I use the most, which is the ICA Guarantee and the Flechette. You can buy the ICA Guarantee from the ICA, or you can buy the Flechette from the Osiris. These are both fantastic items, or fantastic weapons for farming Marauders if you put attachments on them. So you either need to put on a converter, which if you don't know, increases the penetration of your bullets in your weapon. So you can put them on any gun, and they go green, blue, and purple. The higher the better the color, the better the pen. This will make you do more damage to both Marauders and players. However, you can do more damage to Marauders if you use the damage increase to monsters attachment. That makes sense, right? Now, these are way easier to find. They are typically cheaper to make depending on the one that you use, and they absolutely shred. You can see in this clip, I have one on my flechette, and I only have the green one, so it's actually the worst one. And look at in one mag how much damage I deal to that Marauder. It's absolutely insane. So if you're on a budget or you don't really have any pen mods, that's okay, because you can still use the damage to monsters mod, and it works so well on both the ICA guarantee and the flechette in general. I wouldn't really use the scrapper from the Korolev to do this. I think the mag size personally is a little too small, and the inaccuracy from the scrapper can make it a little annoying to hit the soft spot, so I'd stick away from that if you can. However, if it's all you have, you could try to farm the Marauders with it. I had a little bit of annoying time farming the Marauders with that gun, but honestly, just make sure you get either a converter or a damage to monsters mod for your gun, and you are good to go. This is way easier in a duo. We'll talk about that in a second, and I also want to get into how the soft spot for Marauders work, because they do have a weakness, and it can be very easily abused, especially if you have those mods I'm talking about right here. You've probably figured out by now that the weakness or soft spot to the Marauders is their mouth. So their mouth will glow bright orange reddish, and that is where you want to shoot them, because they will take the most damage there. When you shoot them around the rest of their body, it doesn't do much damage. You can still kill them if you have a voltaic brute or a core. You can still kill them without hitting their soft spot, but ideally you want them to open their mouth like you just seen there, and you shoot them to deal the most damage. That's where you dump your mag. So you pretty much dump your mag when it's open, you reload when it's closed, so you can always be dumping your mag into their mouth. Now, they will only open their mouth when they are going to attack you. So you'll aggro the mob. He will yell, so he'll open his mouth, and then he'll probably spit at you or lunge at you. Now, it's important to remember that whenever the Marauder wants to lunge at us, he'll always do those lunges back to back. It's very rarely not happen for me, but it seems that he always wants to do a lunge back to back. So a sequence that you could encounter would be you aggro the Marauder, and he opens his mouth to spit at you. So when he opens his mouth, you would mag dump him. Then you're going to reload while dodging the spit, and then what you're going to do is shoot him in the mouth the second he wants to lunge at you. So he's going to want to lunge at you, you shoot him in the mouth, you dodge the lunge, you reload, he opens his mouth again, and then you do the same thing, and you would just kind of rinse and repeat versus those different scenarios over and over and over again until the Marauder is dead. Now, doing this in a duo is extremely easy, because sometimes when you pull Marauders, you'll get like tons of Striders and Rattlers that also come at you, and it's very hard to focus on dodging the poison spit and dodging the charges while you're also dealing with killing Striders and you're dealing with killing Rattlers. So having a duo is super, super important in my opinion. It can be done solo, I've done it solo, but having a duo to pretty much have him clear out all of the trash while you fight the Marauder is super helpful, because the Marauder seems to fixate on the person that aggroes it. So if I walk up and I shoot the Marauder, it seems that he only wants to kill me. There are sometimes he'll hit my duo, but it seems like mostly he wants to kill me, and he'll just go after me with a death sentence. So your duo's job should be to help you out by clearing all of the junk around the Marauder, and then you can focus on doing that combo, which is shooting them in the mouth, and your duo can help you out when there is no trash left. But pretty much your job is to keep running the Marauder around in a circle and doing things to mess with its pathfinding, which we'll talk about right now. Now, you can cheese Marauders by messing with their pathfinding. So what I mean by this is Marauders are always looking for a constant way to get to you, a path from between you to it so it can hit you. Now, ways that you can mess up their attacks is kind of by using a high ground and low ground thing. So you always want to be on either a high ground or a low ground versus Marauder. So you always either want to be above it or below it. So as you're fighting Marauders, a really strong tactic is swapping between high and low ground, because the Marauder will kind of go crazy while you fight it if you keep swapping. So jumping up on things and then jumping down and doing this over and over again, the Marauder will kind of like bot out and it won't really know what to do. So you can just keep kiting it by dropping down and then jumping back up and doing this over and over again. You see that this Marauder kind of just freaks out because I keep switching between high and low ground. Watch me drop down and the Marauder doesn't really know what to do. He gets freaked out and he doesn't hit my duo at all. See how he fixates on me like we were talking about. He does hit me with the spit, but that's okay because we're out of the way. Now we're going to run away and kite it. Now, sometimes there isn't always a high ground. You can use things like even logs, for example. You see how he kind of bots out for me, like putting an obstacle between me and him all the time. This is a really strong way to keep Marauders off of you, especially when dealing with multiple at once, is by getting them pretty much to get a path blocked between you and them using either an object or high ground, low ground. Now, sometimes you don't have access to high ground and you're in an open field, like for example at Waterfall Lake, there is no high ground, you're just in a lake. What you can actually do is you can dodge the attacks of Marauders, their lunges, by dashing away. So whenever they want to lunge at you, you can slide dash away, and the attack usually won't hit you. Sometimes it does, but usually the attack will not hit you. I can dodge them, like, I'd say 90% of the time if you time it right. There's a certain range where when you see the Marauders start to, like, growl and get angry, you slide dash away, and then after you slide dash, that's when you shoot it and it won't hit you. It's such a strong way to deal with them when using high ground, but if you cannot use high ground, I definitely recommend using those slide dashes to get the hell out of there so they cannot hit you. Guys, that was the guide. I hope you enjoyed it and it helps you farm those Marauders. If you enjoyed the content, I'm doing daily guides all throughout the beta here on the channel. Hit that sub button, hit that bell, like, comment down below what you want to see, and if you want to come say hi to my stream, I stream every single day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Check it out, guys, and I'll see you next time.